Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again. Here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a character comparison versus the Governor from the Walking Dead television series and the Governor from the Walking Dead comic book series. So I did a video like this about Rick Grimes and character of Rick in the comic series and the television series, and people seemed to like it, so I decided I would do it for the main villain of the Walking Dead series overall, I would say, because the Governor is overall probably the main villain for, both the comic books and the television series. He's the biggest villain we've seen so far in the television series, aside from maybe Shane. If you want to count him as a villain, Shane becomes one, but I mean, he's kind of, in between. He sort of, becomes a bad guy after a while, but he's not really like, the Governor, where he comes in right off the bat. We know this guy is going to be, the main antagonist for the series. The comic book series, we've got Negan now, so he is, he's kind of one of the main ones too. That's going to be probably in overall Walking Dead comic book series over the long term is going to be one of the main villains. But the Governor, up to this point, I would say still, until we spend more time with Negan, is the biggest villain in both the comic book and the TV series. So that being said, which version do I prefer? And, just make some comments on it. So let's start off with the Walking Dead comic book series, because that was the first version of the Governor. And I will say I have not read the novels for the Governor's. They've got a couple novels for him. I have not read those. Reason being is because I don't find the Governor from the comic book series to be that interesting of a character. I mean, he is to a degree, but I'm just, I'm not rushing out to grab the novels and read through it to hear everything about what happened to him in the past. So I'll be basing this video just on his, appearance in the comic book, which is basically, I mean, it's not fully in-depth, that in detail as the novel would be, of course, but we should be able to draw conclusions on that because he is the main villain of the comic book series, and we do spend enough time on him to be able to, make some comments on his character and all that kind of stuff. Plus, the novels weren't written by Robert Kirkman. They were written by other people and then approved by Kirkman. So you could even kind of say they're not really canon. They kind of are canon, but they're canon in the same way the Walking Dead Survival Instinct video game is canon for Daryl and Merle. So it is canon, but it's not. You see what I'm saying? It's not really completely canon. Sort of like Dragon Ball GT. And so if it's really bad, then we can just say it's not canon, which a lot of people do for Dragon Ball GT. Lots of other things, too, are like that. If it's not the original creator who does it, even if they give their stamp of approval, it's not 100% like theirs. So this won't include any of that. So when we first meet the Governor from the Walking Dead comic book series, I'll say that he comes off as very cold, very cruel with the things he does right off the bat. Spoilers for anyone who has not read the comic books, although this part in the comic books is really old. I mean, as soon as we meet him, we basically find that he's an evil bastard. But he's evil in the comic book series without really fleshing out why. He's evil because he's evil. It's not really like we kind of have a reason. There was no misunderstanding. Rick and Michonne and Glenn, they kind of just are following that helicopter. They waltz right in, and next thing you know, they're in it with this maniac who's just crazy and does these things. But we don't really get, it kind of feels a little illogical because it's like, okay, he's going to be cruel to people that are outside of his group. He doesn't care, yes. But is he really going to torture them just because he finds them? I mean, it's kind of like it's a little far-fetched, I guess, for him to just, cut Rick's hand off and all that stuff just because. Now, granted, he does want the prison. He wants to know where they're from. And he wants the resources and all these kinds of things. So you can kind of, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. But it just felt way better handled in the television series. He is that, too, where he never wastes a bullet and all these kinds of things. But at the same time, it just felt a lot more smooth. It didn't feel like he's evil, because we say he is, or because I write that he is. And he does these things, therefore meeting, it just feels more natural of a progression to the point where he's at right now in the TV series. So I will say that. In terms of the way the character looks, he looks very different from the comic book series to the television series. I would have to prefer David Morrissey's look just physically the way he looks, because the governor in the comic book series, he's really scruffy looking. He's got the the long hair and the beard and everything, and he kind of looks like a biker. He just doesn't really. I don't know. Not that I care about the way he looks physically, but it makes more sense in the television series where you have David Morrissey, who can really sell that performance, that he can be two-sided, so he can put on a great speech and presentation for the people in his group, but then behind closed doors, or when he leaves and outside of it, he can be totally twisted and different. He sells it better because he looks very clean cut. He looks, as Andrea says, sitting pretty at the end of the world. He looks like he, could really convince people that he is 100% a great, person, all these kinds of things, and a great individual, without them thinking that he's hiding something. Aside from Michonne, because she was a lawyer, so she can kind of, she was suspicious, but she's suspicious of everybody, which she should be, in a zombie apocalypse. But you guys hear what I'm saying, is that in the TV series, David Morrissey looks the part better, that he could convince people that he's a real good guy, and then outside or behind the scenes could be doing all these other things, villainous things. So I, in that regard too, I prefer him as well. The introduction of him, the way they show his episode, I forget which episode it is, number 2 or 3. Is it number 3? I forget. One of the first episodes of season 3 of The Walking Dead, where they go after the military guys. Really like that, because again, he waltzes right up in front of him, puts up the white flag. He's got it down to a science, comes out, we found you too, and then twists, right? So I like that a lot better too than what they do in the comic book series. Plus, the whole Rick with his hand thing. In the comic book series, that's a video I have done topics on, and how I feel about what they did with that, with the governor. In the television series, I think I like the approach better, because in the comic books, it's kind of like they do it almost for shock value, but it kind of maims Rick as a character later on. So I don't know if it was a good decision. I think it's better in the TV series to let him keep his hand. That way he can be your strong lead and everything like that, even though it is different from anything you've seen before and is shocking and does make you as a reader go, wow, this is different from anything I've read before, which the comic book series does. So coming down the wire, that's, we meet the governor, everything in both. I prefer the introduction for the television series version of the governor. I prefer the look of the television series governor. From the comic book series, going on from there, let's see. The other things he does afterwards, again, just very cruel, very villainous for the sake of being villainous, without us knowing much backstory from the comic book itself or why he acts the way he does. Having, the strangers, fight each other, and the whole gladiator tournament thing. I think it makes more sense in the TV series too, that you just have it be for show, rather than actually have them do it. It just makes more sense for me that way too. So in terms of the middle part, I would say that too. I like the evolution of the governor's character in the TV series more, also the way he loses the eye versus in the comic book, where it's more of like a struggle, and it just happens, and then he wants revenge afterwards, so he goes after them like that. It makes perfect sense that he would want Michonne. I like the troll smile when he meets with Rick in the episode Arrow on the Doorpost. That was good too. And the way it's all wrapping up. Now, obviously, we haven't seen it totally finish up yet, but it is starting to, and I still, even still, prefer that too. I love the fight between him and Merle. Thought that was great in the TV series. And let's see, is there anything about the comic book series, anything else? Well, the way that the governor dies in the comic book series, I thought it was really good as well. It was well handled, well done. But I got to say, I definitely think that the character's more fleshed out in the TV series. We spend more time with him. David Morrissey's more convincing than the artwork from Charlie Adler. And I would just say I prefer the TV version overall. The comic book version being a little bit more cruel, a little bit rougher to people outside of his group. The TV version allowing, basically being smart about it, allowing groups like Tyrese's group in if he thinks he can use them, right? Not necessarily just right off the bat being, heinous and horrible to people he finds, but trying to smooth it in on him and get it out of them first before he starts these kinds of tactics afterwards. So definitely, even though at first, when we first saw David Morrissey, I was like, wow, he doesn't look anything like the governor. Now, after watching the season, I'll take that back entirely and think that his governor is actually an improved version and even better than the comic book governor, in my opinion. So that's pretty much all I got to say about the Governor as a villain. He's a great villain, and I do like the TV versions better. Favorite lines from him in the TV series and the comic book. Well, the comic book, he's got some really good ones. The line with Michonne where he tells her, he talks about enjoying it more than she does, and of course she doesn't. That's a pretty good line. The TV series lines, I actually probably would say the fight with Merle at the end when he shouts to his men to leave him for me. It's muffled and it's angry and it's in the middle of a battle, but I love that. I thought that was really, really great. Just awesome line, and really it was just like, whoa, what am I watching? It's just great. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about the Governor as a character. I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trev saying peace.